Good morning, children. Hope all of you have revised the topic of the previous class. In the previous class, we have discussed that Queen Elizabeth I granted a charter to the English East India Company. That charter allowed the East India Company to trade with India. When they came to India, the Portugal, French and Dutch people had already established their trade in India. Now, let's discuss the topic East India Company begins trade in Bengal. Here, the first English factory was set up on the banks of the river Hooghly in 1651. So, where did the first English factory in Bengal set up? It was set up on the banks of river Hooghly in 1651. This factory had a warehouse where the goods for exports were stored, and it had offices where the company officials sat. What is that factory for? It is for exporting goods from India to Britain. By 1696, they started to building fort around that factory. And 2 years later, it got the semindari rights for 3 villages. One of these was Kalikata, which later grew into the city of Calcutta or Kolkata. The semindari rights gave ownership to the British of 3 villages. Then, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb issued a farman granting the company right to trade duty-free. It means they can do trade without paying tax. Then, what do we mean by farman? A farman is a royal order. But officials of the East India Company misused this royal order. Then, how did the company officials misuse the royal order? Actually, Aurangzeb's farman had granted only the company's right to trade duty-free. But officials of the company who were carrying private trade on the side were expected to pay duty. But they refused to pay duty that caused huge loss of revenue to the Nawab of Bengal. Next, how trade led to battles. Here we can see how the trading led to battles between local rulers and the East India Company. In the case of Bengal, after the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal emperor, the Bengal Nawabs asserted their power and autonomy in the region of Bengal. And we already learned that Aurangzeb's farman allowed the East India Company to do trade duty-free. But now, the new rulers of Bengal, they started to question the misuse of power of the company officials. Now, let's understand the areas of conflict between Bengal Nawabs and the English East India Company. Murshid Quli Khan, Alivardi Khan and Sirajuddaula were the 3 important rulers of Bengal. After the death of Aurangzeb, Murshid Quli Khan became the Nawab of Bengal. After him, Alivardi Khan came to power. And Alivardi Khan was succeeded by Sirajuddaula. Each one of them was strong ruler. They refused to grant concessions to the company, demanded large tributes for the company's right to trade, denied the company's right to mint coins, and stopped it from extending its fortifications. So, Bengal Nawabs, they refused to grant concessions to the company, demanded large tributes for the company's right to trade, denied the company's right to mint coins, and stopped it from extending its fortifications. Now, Nawab started to accuse the company of deceit. They claimed that the company was depriving the Bengal government of huge amount of revenue and undermining the authority of the Nawabs, and also accused that the company was refusing to pay taxes, writing disrespectful letters, and trying to humiliate the Nawab and his officials. At the same time, East India Company on its part declared that unjust demands of the local officials, local rulers were ruining the trade of the company. These conflict between English East India Company and Nawabs finally culminated in the famous Battle of Plassey that we will discuss in the next class. Let's revise today's topic. East India Company begins trade in Bengal. The first English factory was set up on the banks of the river Hooghly in 1651. As trade expanded, the company persuaded merchants and traders to come and settle near the factory. By 1696, it began building a fort around the settlement. 2 years later, the company gained zamindari rights over 3 villages. One of these was Calicut, which later grew into the city of Calcutta or Kolkata as it is known today. Next, how trade led to battles. After the death of Aurangzeb, the Bengal Nawabs asserted their power and autonomy. Soon after the death of Aurangzeb, Murshid Quli Khan became the ruler of Bengal. After him, Alivardi Khan came to power. After Alivardi Khan, Sirajuddaula became the Nawab. Each one of them was strong ruler. Then, the areas of conflict between East India Company and the Bengal Nawabs. The Bengal Nawabs refused to grant the company concessions, demanded large tributes for the company's right to trade, denied it any right to mint coins, and stopped it from extending its fortification. Nawabs started to accuse the company of deceit. They claimed that the company was depriving the Bengal government of huge amount of revenue and undermining the authorities of the Nawab. Nawabs also accused that the company was refusing to pay taxes, writing disrespectful letters, and trying to humiliate the Nawab and his officials. At the same time, the company on its part declared that the unjust demands of the local officials were ruining the trade of the company, and trade flourished only if the duties were removed. These conflicts between the East India Company and the Nawabs of Bengal finally culminated in the famous Battle of Plassey. Let me conclude today's session. I hope all of you have understood the content clearly. For your reference, I have uploaded the URL. Go through it. Notes are also attached along with this. Take it down. A test question paper is also there. Try it yourself. Thank you.